The fluorescent lights of Walker's grocery hummed overhead as Marcus Davis entered, his military-trained eyes scanning the store. Near the pharmacy counter, a white-haired woman trembled as the store manager loomed over her, his voice rising with accusation. "I've watched you on the cameras, ma'am." Tom Fisher, the manager, announced loudly, his finger jabbed toward Ellen Thompson's worn purse. "Open it. Now." The elderly woman's hand shook as she fumbled with the clasp. "There's been a misunderstanding," she pleaded, her voice barely audible. "I just needed my heart medication." "Yeah, I bet," Tom scoffed, glancing around to ensure his audience of shoppers was watching. "You people think because you're old, stores won't prosecute." Ellen's medication spilled across the counter. Prescription bottles, each with her name clearly labeled. "See? I was confused about which aisle." Tom cut her off. "Then what's this?" He snatched a small, unpaid bottle of aspirin, mixed among her prescriptions. Typical, playing confused to steal. Customers pretended not to notice. A teenage girl filmed discreetly while her mother whispered, "Don't get involved." A man in business attire studied his shopping list with sudden interest. Ellen's face flushed with humiliation. "I have arthritis. Sometimes I can't tell what I'm holding." "Please." "Save it," Tom interrupted. "Either pay for what you accidentally took, or I'm calling the police." Tears welled in Ellen's eyes. She struggled to find her wallet with trembling fingers. From the cereal aisle, Marcus had seen enough. The 45-year-old black veteran moved deliberately, his posture straightening instinctively, a habit from 15 years in Army Special Forces. He wasn't in uniform anymore, just jeans and a simple button-up. But the discipline never left. Marcus approached the counter, stopping at a respectful distance. His voice carried the calm authority that once commanded troops through firefights. "Excuse me," he said. "I believe the lady explained it was a mistake." Tom's attention snapped toward Marcus, his expression shifting from smugness to suspicion in an instant. Tom's eyes narrowed as he assessed Marcus. "This doesn't concern you," he said, the dismissive tone unmistakable. "I think it does concern anyone who sees an elderly person in distress," Marcus replied evenly. "She's clearly confused about the aspirin, not stealing intentionally." "Oh, really?" Tom crossed his arms. "And you know this how? You were appointed guardian?" Marcus remained composed. "No, sir, just a concerned citizen. She's offered to pay for it now that she knows." Ellen nodded gratefully, still searching her purse with trembling hands. Tom's gaze hardened as he looked Marcus up and down. "We get your type in here all the time, acting like heroes, defending mistakes, when you're probably working together." The implication hung heavy. A couple nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. "My type?" Marcus asked, keeping his tone neutral despite recognizing the familiar sting of prejudice. "Troublemakers," Tom clarified, though his meaning was transparent. "Security's been tracking shoplifters all week." Marcus took a measured breath, the same way he controlled his breathing during night patrols in Kandahar. "Sir, I've never met this woman before today, but I recognize someone who needs a moment of understanding." Ellen found her wallet, finally. "Here, I can pay." "Please, I don't want trouble." "Too late for that," Tom snapped. To Marcus, "You can back off or leave. Your choice." The teenage girl was still recording. More phones had emerged around the store. Marcus didn't move. "I'll leave when I know she's been treated fairly." "Fairly?" Tom laughed. "What are you, the store police? Let me guess. You serve somewhere and now think you're everybody's protector?" Something flickered behind Marcus's eyes, not anger, but recognition of familiar battle. Military or not, treating people with dignity costs nothing. Tom's hand moved his radio. "That's it. I'm calling security." Ellen touched Marcus's arm. "Please, don't make trouble for yourself. I'll be fine." Marcus smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, ma'am." The store's atmosphere tensed as Tom radioed security. Customers either drifted away or moved closer, sensing conflict. Marcus remained beside Ellen, adjusting his stance slightly, feet shoulder-width apart, hands visible, non-threatening but prepared. It was the same position he'd used when negotiating with village elders in Afghanistan. respectful but immovable. Two security guards appeared from the back of the store. The first, a heavy-set man with Reynolds on his name tag, approached cautiously. The second, younger guard hung back, assessing. "What's the problem, Tom?" Reynolds asked, eyes darting between the manager and Marcus. "This man is interfering with a shoplifting situation," Tom declared, pointing at Marcus. "Needs to be removed." Reynolds studied Marcus, noting his composed stance and steady gaze. Something made the guard hesitate. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside." "I understand you're doing your job," Marcus replied calmly. "But this woman made an honest mistake with her medication. She's offering to pay." He barged in and started causing problems. Tom interjected, "Probably working with her. They planned these distractions." Ellen's voice quavered. "I've shopped here for 12 years. I've never stolen anything." "Ma'am, please." Reynolds raised his hand. To Marcus, "Sir, store policy requires." "I respect store policy," Marcus interrupted gently. "But I can't respect the mistreatment of an elderly woman confused about her medication." Tom stepped closer to Reynolds. "He's trying to intimidate us. Probably thinks playing hero makes him special." The younger guard suddenly focused on Marcus's hands. The way he held them, the subtle scars across the knuckles, the perfect stillness of someone trained to control every movement. "Are you military?" the young guard asked unexpectedly. Tom scoffed. "What difference does that make? He's disrupting my store." Marcus gave a brief nod to the young guard, but kept his attention on the situation. "Sir," he addressed Reynolds directly, "all I'm asking is that you witness her pay for the item and leave with her dignity intact." Tom's face reddened. "I don't care if he's military, police, or the Easter Bunny. He's interfering in store business." Customers had formed a loose semicircle. Phones recorded discreetly. The teenage girl who'd been filming whispered to her mother, pointing at something on Marcus's wrist where his sleeve had risen slightly. Reynolds noticed it too, a worn unit bracelet partially visible. 75th Ranger Regiment? The young security guard asked, gesturing toward Marcus's bracelet. A flicker of surprise crossed Marcus's face. "You got good eyes, son." "My brother served with the Rangers," the guard explained. 3rd Battalion. Reynolds shifted uncomfortably, glancing between Marcus and Tom. "Look, we still need to resolve the situation." "Nothing to resolve," Tom insisted. "He needs to leave, and she needs to pay for what she tried to steal." Ellen had already placed her wallet on the counter. "Please, I have the money right here." A middle-aged man in the growing crowd of onlookers stepped forward. "I've been watching. That manager has been badgering this poor woman for a simple mistake. Stay out of this." Tom snapped. The teenage girl who'd been recording spoke up. "He's wearing a Special Forces ring, too. My uncle has one just like it." Tom rolled his eyes. "Oh, please. Anyone can buy military jewelry online. Doesn't mean anything." Marcus remained focused on Ellen, ignoring the comments about his service. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She nodded, grateful for his steady presence. From the back of the crowd, a voice called out, "Davis? Marcus Davis?" A tall man in his 50s pushed through the onlookers. His name was Jason Miller, wearing a Vietnam veteran's cap and walking with a slight limp. Marcus turned, recognition dawning in his eyes. Jason approached and rendered a crisp salute. "Staff Sergeant Davis. Never thought I'd run into you here." Marcus returned the salute, military precision, automatic even in civilian clothes. "You know this man?" Reynolds asked Jason. "Know him?" Jason laughed incredulously. "Everyone in the service knows Marcus Davis." Tom stepped back, suddenly uncertain. "What's going on?" Jason looked at the manager with disbelief. "You're harassing a Medal of Honor recipient. That's what's going on." A collective gasp rippled through the store. Even Reynolds stood straighter. Marcus shook his head slightly, uncomfortable with the attention. "This isn't about me. It's about treating people with respect." "Medal of Honor?" The young security guard repeated, eyes widening in recognition of America's highest military decoration. Jason nodded firmly. "Kandahar Province, 2009. Staff Sergeant Davis's unit was ambushed. for men down, surrounded by enemy fighters. The store had fallen completely silent. Even Tom stood frozen, his mouth slightly open. Davis here carried 2 wounded men through enemy fire, returned for the others, then held position alone for 4 hours until extraction arrived. Jason's voice swelled with pride. Saved his entire squad while taking 2 bullets himself. Phones remained raised, but now with reverence rather than voyeurism. The teenage girl whispered to her friend, "My dad says only like 3,500 people ever got that medal in our whole history." Marcus looked uncomfortable with the attention. "Mr. Miller, I appreciate the recognition, but..." "The president himself put that medal around his neck," Jason continued. "I was at Walter Reed when you were recovering. Different unit, but we all knew your story." Reynolds removed his security cap. "Sir, I had no idea. I apologize for the misunderstanding." Tom's face had drained of color. I wasn't," he stammered. But Marcus had already turned back to Ellen, whose eyes were wide with realization. "Ma'am, let me help you with that payment," he said gently. Ellen touched his arm with trembling fingers. "You're a hero, and you stopped to help someone like me?" "That's exactly what heroes do, ma'am," the young security guard said, shooting a pointed look at Tom. Several customers had moved closer. Their expressions transformed from indifference to admiration. A man in a business suit stepped forward and placed $20 on the counter for the lady's items. "It's the least I can do." Tom began backing away. "I was just following store policy. We've had problems with shoplifting and..." Was humiliating an elderly woman also store policy? Jason asked sharply. Marcus raised his hand. "What matters now is making this right." He turned to Tom. "Sir, I believe we can resolve this without further embarrassment for anyone." The manager nodded quickly, eager to defuse the situation he created. Ellen stood straighter now, her dignity returning. "Thank you for standing up for me when no one else would," she said to Marcus. The crowd remained gathered. The initial tension transformed into something different, a collective moment of reflection. Marcus helped Ellen gather her medications back into her purse. "I was just doing what anyone should do," Marcus said, loud enough for others to hear. "Military or not, we all have a responsibility to look out for each other." Tom approached cautiously, his earlier bravado deflated. "Sir, I apologize for the misunderstanding. The store will cover Mrs. Thompson's purchases today." Marcus nodded, but didn't smile. Apologies matter, but understanding matters more. This isn't just about today. "My son served in Iraq," Ellen revealed quietly. "He used to tell me how people treated him differently in uniform than when he wore regular clothes." Her eyes met Marcus's. "But he said the real test of character is how you treat people when you think no one important is watching." The teenage girl who had been recording stepped forward. "My school did a project on military service last year, but we never learned about Black Medal of Honor recipients." "There are many," Marcus said, "from Doris Miller at Pearl Harbor to William Carney carrying the flag at Fort Wagner despite being wounded multiple times." He paused. "Their stories aren't told enough." Jason added, "More than 90 black soldiers have received the Medal of Honor, fighting for a country that didn't always fight for them." Reynolds, the security guard, shook his head. "I'm ashamed I didn't step in sooner." "It's never too late to do the right thing," Marcus replied. Tom shifted uncomfortably. "We'll review our policies about suspected shoplifting and ensure our staff receives better training." A woman with her young son approached. "Would you mind if my boy shook your hand, sir? I wanted to know what real courage looks like, not just on the battlefield, but in everyday life." Marcus knelt to the boy's level and extended his hand. "What's your name, young man?" "James," the boy replied shyly. "Well, James, remember this. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about doing what's right even when you're afraid." The store manager formally apologized to Ellen, processing her medications while waiving all charges. Tom's demeanor had completely transformed, humbled by the realization of his prejudice and its very public exposure. "We'll be implementing new training for all staff," Tom announced to the gathered customers. "What happened today was unacceptable and doesn't represent our values as a store." Ellen accepted the apology with grace. We all make mistakes. It's how we correct them that matters. Marcus helped her organize her purchases and offered to carry her bags to her car. As they prepared to leave, several customers approached to shake his hand or thank him for his service. The young security guard caught up with them at the exit. "Sir, I'm enlisting next month. After seeing this today, well, I hope I can serve with the same integrity you've shown." Marcus smiled genuinely. Remember, the most important battles are often fought right here at home, standing up for what's right when it's easier to look away. As word spread through the store and onto social media through the recorded videos, something shifted in the community. By evening, local news had picked up the story, not just of a decorated veteran, but of everyday moral courage. In the parking lot, Ellen insisted on taking a photo with Marcus. "My grandchildren need to see the heroes walk among us, not just in uniform, but in how they live every day." Marcus nodded. "And they should know that an elderly woman had the courage to stand her ground with dignity, even when she was afraid. That's heroism too." This incident makes us wonder, how often do we stay silent when we should speak up? What would our communities look like if more people found the courage to stand against injustice, regardless of their background? Perhaps the real Medal of Honor belongs to anyone brave enough to do what's right when no one is watching, or when everyone is. That's the challenge facing each of us every day. Have you ever witnessed someone standing up for others when it wasn't easy? Or been the person who needed someone to stand up for you? Share your story in the comments below. Let's recognize the everyday heroes among us and become that person for others. If this story inspired you, please consider subscribing for more tales of courage that change lives, one moment at a time.